one hit line drive.
Want to lose weight?
Live right now? Is this happening?
Yeah, we're streaming. This is happening now.
Okay.
Dude, I
Nice,
like
man.
my
Well, I gotta say again,
as we're going. Like my hair.
what the fuck is up with all these tears? I just keep being like emotionally manipulated for 3 hours, and I'm like, oh, no wonder they call it the meltdown. That's what happens to your fucking mascara when you're on this thing. It's just.
It is.
We're talking about my dead grandpa here. What's up?
Your mascara looks good. We call it the meltdown moment, where like in the event series, a speaker will hit to somebody, you know, as an attendee. You're an attendee and there's a speaker who says something that just hits you. So like you might be waiting the whole time and be like, yeah, these guys are great. I enjoy this. This is awesome. And then all of a sudden that one speaker will say that one thing that like just floors you. And you're like, oh, okay, we call that the meltdown moment. It'll be interesting to see if we can recreate that virtually or coming through a stream. If it's this, it'll have that same impact, because we're going to chop this up and people will be able to listen to this later and do the replays, which at the events you don't. It's like that's usually kind of an upsell where we film it all. It's a production crew and you have to buy it because I pay for it, so you should pay for it too. This time it's you don't. So it's always going to be interesting to see people that go through and listen to it, to see what they gain from it, dude. What's happening, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Living the dream, you know, doing what I want, when I want, how I want, or at least trying to. That's the whole point, you know.
Dressing up like a woman and still sitting to pee.
Like I said, doing what I want, when I want, how I want. So yes, it includes that for sure.
I love it. Okay,
why does sitting down to pee get such a bad rap? I don't get it. Like it's really comfortable. I don't know. I mean, the tip gets wet, but that's weird.
Dude, it's like sometimes I just need to cool off. You know, sometimes it's like I just like to break. I just need a break. Hey, dude, let's do this really quick. Let's see here.
But right now, he's at this odd time as a 17-year-old where he really wants to get a tattoo. And I keep trying to talk him out of it, and he's really pushy about it. And he goes, hey, just give me one reason why I shouldn't get a tattoo. And I go, really? Just one? Here you go. Boom, right there. See this dog shit that I got? You don't want that, buddy. I mean, I know the card is cool, but this script you can't even read anymore? It used to be legible. Now it just looks like I wanted a Lord of the Rings tattoo. I've literally had people ask me, is that Elvish, bro? I'm like, no, it's not Elvish, it just sucks. There's no one ring ruling anything, okay? It's just a bad tattoo. And he's like, come on, man. I go, no, I want you to think this through. Somebody somewhere right now has an R. Kelly lyric tattooed on their arm. Do you think they're rethinking that right now? Like, just hold off, buddy. But I get the pressure, you know? There's tattoos everywhere, like sleeves and back piece, like everybody's tatted up. It's crazy. I mean, I'm super surprised at how popular even face tattoos are. It's crazy. This is a true story. I know 2 business professionals with face tattoos. One is a mortgage guy. Bro, you do loans. Like, what do you... Did they give you that when a loan goes bad? Like, is that the next thing? I was in family court recently and I saw an attorney, a family law attorney, with a face tattoo. I mean, I know divorces are rough, man, but I didn't know you needed proof on your face that you made it out, because this is next level. I've actually thought about it. You know, we were in Disneyland recently, and I saw so many younger people with face tattoos. I legitimately thought that there was like a Disney character I wasn't aware of. Is that the new one that like has issues with his stepmom and started vaping and got the... I haven't seen that movie yet. Because, you know, back when I was a kid, face tattoos, they made a totally different thing, man. Like back, 20 years ago, you'd been in the clink, you'd shipped somebody, maybe you'd hurt, like it was a thing. Like now, it just means your therapy didn't work. True life. But there's an evolution here. And this is why I want to stop my son from getting a tattoo. Because if my tattoo had gone well, I'd probably have more. But I didn't. And so now, we got the face tattoos, and you're like, I have a group of friends, and this is a true story, I have a group of friends, and in the group of 7 of us, there's 2 of them that have dick tattoos. fucking dick. Like, it's gonna be. I'm telling you, this is what's happened. Like my one friend, he just had DTF right down the top of his shaft. And in case you haven't seen Jersey Shore, that means down to fuck, you know? And I asked him, I go, isn't that a little redundant? Like, if somebody's close enough to read that, kind of aren't they already DTF, you know? And it was funny to me, too, because he's uncircumcised, so it's like, he already had the hoodie going on, and he's like, man, I need my hoodie to be cool, I gotta screen print it, you know? The other guy is a really, really big dude. He got a 4-leaf clover on the side. So many puns. Hey, what's up? We getting lucky? You know, we nicknamed that guy Shamrock. But this is what scares me about all this, because those are true. Like, those are my friends. Like, multiple friends have that. So we are this close to the era of the sleeve on your dick. Do you guys not see this? It's gonna happen, I'm telling you, and it's gonna be so fucking annoying because we're gonna be at a party somewhere and we're gonna have to listen to some guy talk about the symbolism of the work that he had done. It's like, you know, I decided to go with the koi fish because it's a very resilient fish and it's adventurous, and if you've seen any of my exes, you know how adventurous my dick is. Oh, and that, that's an anchor, and it just reminds me how toxic masculinity weighs down society, and I want nothing of that. Oh, and that? Oh, that's just my grandma's face. I'm telling you, it's coming. It's coming. So the way I look at it, if he doesn't get his first tattoo, he wanted to, tell me about his koi fish.
Dude, how come I've not seen that? That is funny shit. That's funny.
Was the audio okay? It seemed a little muffly over here, but
I heard it was good.
Okay.
I heard it was good.
First of all, I really enjoyed your book. It was really excellent. I got deep into
Oh,
it.
hey.
I listened to the audio book. And said,
We're still streaming.
Still listening to some YouTube, yeah.
Yeah, like if Joe Rogan's playing in the background, like, hey, first off, I really enjoyed your book. I'm like, yo, dude, thanks, Joe. I appreciate you liking my book. It's
Joe's good that way, yeah.
It's a bestseller. I mean, what can I say? My dude, I appreciate you jumping in. I appreciate you being on. For those of you, I haven't seen that whole tattoo bit. I'd heard bits and pieces of it as you were kind of working on it. That dick sleeve thing is actually hilarious. That's funny as hell because it's true. I don't need one of these.
I'm telling you, it's fucking true. Like, I heard of a guy that has like a tiger print that he started doing up his cock, and I'm like, oh my God, really? Like, this is a thing now?
Yeah, my dick's not big enough to do a full sleeve. I could do a half sleeve. Not even that. I might be able to get some Chinese characters.
It gives a whole new definition to half sleeve if you think about it. It's
really, the anteater with the sleeve is really what gets me. She has the hoodie, hoodie with the hoodie with the print. We dude, do you know how we met? Like, when did we? Do you know when we?
It was on Facebook somewhere. I remember you had always had a big footprint there in the years past, and I was doing my podcast, Rules of Success, and we had some mutual friends, I think, and there was something like that. I don't remember the inception of the Kolby and Bryce bromance, but I've enjoyed where it's gone.
When I did your show, I can't remember either.
Yeah.
But yeah, it had to have been your show because I did your show a couple of times. That's right. And that was what, 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
That was more than that. Yeah, it was dude, I want to say it was 2015.
Okay. That sounds right. 2015. So what people don't know is if we were going to do this event in person, I was going to have Bryce MC. So Bryce would have been kind of like the Jim Grease. Jim would have been there. Bryce would be kind of the MC, just rotate. One of the things that's hard to do is you have a lot of friends that have been on the event. Everybody wants to do everyone, and they take it personal if they're not invited. It's like, that's just enough time. But what people don't know is like you and I spoke about you hosting the event. The last event we did was in Park City during Sundance 2 years ago. Rest in power to Mike Saltzman. Mike, I think you guys connected at one of the events, and we were in Park City. One of the things, because you're not hosting, but it's one of the things that's really impressed me about you is like knowing your history. And, both of us, one of the things that we connect on is we both at the core were in business. Like we weren't online marketers that tried to build a business as an entrepreneur. It's like we were like business guys. Like we worked for a Fortune 500 company, built a company, built a sales team, built marketing, like worked in a company, like as a person in a company that built a business. And we had a lot of the same similar kind of experiences. When I look at your background and the things that you've done, for people that don't know you, you're big, like you haven't always been in comedy, right? There's been an interesting journey of things that you've done because you have a whole business behind comedy that's not even comedy. It's like you have a whole business of things that help fuel what you do, and then the on stage is kind of one of the outlets.
Yeah.
Look at your business background. I want to talk about that for a minute. So like the textile story, I want to get to the textile story. So for people that don't know your background and your story, walk me through it.
Well, where should I start? Because I could start early or 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Wherever you feel. Wherever you feel.
Well, let's start from the last memories I have of you and kind of the Facebook part of it. I remember I didn't go to the very first Meltdown, but I recall hearing that it was this sort of social media slanted, tell your story, get your story out there. There's one person that needs to hear it. There's this, there's power and benefit in the expression of who you are in your story. And I was always taken by that. And for whatever reason, I've had a glutton for punishment when it comes to embarrassing myself. And so I started telling my story early on. I was coming out at that time when I first started my first podcast, Rules of Success. I was coming out of some really serious health issues. I was coming out of some challenges in my marriage. I was coming out of a career that basically bankrupted me. And I wanted something new. I felt I had some talent and gifts, but I didn't know how to really, figure out how to use them. And so I started that podcast back in 2013 called Rules of Success with somewhat of it wasn't all nefarious in my intent, but I was trying to work some things around. I wanted access to some of the brightest minds that were around, but I didn't want to have to go through like a woo-foo form and some sort of like sales call process to be able to talk to these people, because most of the high level entrepreneurs and marketers and coaches and things that I wanted access to, that was the process. You couldn't just go talk to them. They were insulated. And so I thought, well, I know how to get around that wall. Let's just have a podcast and I'll interview them and they can get, they can get exposure that way and give them a chance to get more clients. And so I did that. It was really, really beneficial for me. And I realized about a year and a half in that I was a quick study, and it became more and more difficult to have the desire to do the podcast, because I was finding myself in a better spot than most of the people I was interviewing that were so-called experts in the thing that they were talking about. And so about 2 years into that, I put it on pause. A little bit later, I had that podcast for about 3 years. But what it taught me was a couple of different things. What it taught me was there's layers to your understanding and how you actually are able to develop as a person and as a business. Gary Vee has that mantra, you just got to put it out. You hear Seth Godin say, just ship it, just get it out there. Well, that's good to a certain point, but then there comes a point where you actually have to refine that story and you have to refine what it is that you're getting out there. And you've got to be able to, really connect with people in a way that allows them to want to be drawn into you for whatever reason, whether it's something you're selling, a service you offer, a movement you're a part of, whatever. And that kind of rocked me. And that happened actually at that second Meltdown event 2 years ago that I went to. The one that, Tyler was there. I met Ryan Nidell. I met Jim. I met, Dan Clark. It was just a really powerful event, but I found myself really kind of rocked by that event because I felt intimidated by all these dudes. I felt like they were way better than I was in the things that I thought I was good at. I thought they had their shit together in a way that I didn't. And I kind of cowered a little bit. I came back from that event and I just completely restructured everything. I went and I ended up getting sober for about a year because of some of the things that came out of that event. And it pushed me into this different spot where I was like, I gotta pay attention more to the things that I actually care about instead of doing something because I think it might bring a return that would matter. I don't know if that makes sense. Fast forward about a year after that, I meet this coach, this wonderful woman named Jen Cudmore. She's out of New Zealand or Australia. I know that they hate it when you mix the two up, but I can't remember where she's at. But And she really helped me to understand some aspects of my personality archetypes. And there was an aspect of my person that I was neglecting. And that aspect was the comedic aspect. That there's all these different archetypes that we have as people, with names like the romantic, the innocent, the jester, the maverick, the alchemist, there's 12 of them basically. And I had learned through working with her that, my combination of archetypes was really unique, and I was kind of ignoring one of them. My primary archetype was the jester. And as you might think, the jester is somebody that, cracks jokes, is irreverent at times where it shouldn't be, but it works. But also one of the aspects of the jester that people it's overlooked is that he's always close to powerful people. And I found that to be the case for me. Like I had a network full of people that were just studs, superstars. I mean, high level, rich, influential, the whole thing. I never had a problem finding myself close to those type of people. And I'm like, okay, well, the aspect of because at the time I was full-time doing, life coaching. I was doing executive coaching and I had written a program, and it was 3 months, and I was trying my best to get clients to do that. But there was still some things that were out of alignment with that. And I remember specifically asking my coach, I go, so how do I tell people that I love them and that they need to meditate and they need to do these other things while like cracking a dick joke in the background? Because that was like my natural sort of tendency, was to just be irreverent. And she's like, well, you just do it. And I go, it's that simple. Okay. So I started like unfiltering myself that way. And I found that it really, served a good purpose for me. Fast forward a couple months from that, I stumbled across this documentary on HBO that was called The Zen Diaries of Gary Shandling. It's a 4-hour documentary on the life of Gary Shandling, the famous comedian. He was the star of the Larry Sanders Show, which was one of the very first sort of or reality comedy, like kind of like an Office-y type show, but not. I started learning about this guy because part of me was like, I don't know any comedian that's like me.
You gotta love that when your guest is mid-speech and you switch to highlight and spotlight Bryce, and instead you just kick him out. So let me just rewind and reset. I don't see a lot of people like me. And then Bryce said,
okay. I had yet to meet anybody that was, like me in that way, in that I cared about some of those more metaphysical things, like having success-based habits and, meditating and believing that I have this sort of, powerful accountability to attract and manifest things in my life through my work and through my thoughts and intentions. And then, like I said, like cracking dick jokes. Like I still haven't met anybody like that to this day in comedy. But watching this Gary Shandling documentary, he was like that. Like he was a practicing Buddhist, which I'm not, but he still was into the whole Zen life. He cared about having relationships around him that were loving. He was not a perfect man by any means, but he was revered. The friendships that he had were very close friends, and he was a savage comedian. And I'm like, there's my guy. Okay, I got to try this. And so I started writing jokes, started going to an open mic just to see what the whole vibe was like. And then it was April 11th of 2018 was when I tried stand-up comedy for the first time. And I've done it multiple times every week since then. And what it's taught me, though, is a couple things. Kolby, one of the things that I really admire about you is you are an impeccable storyteller. You know exactly how to craft a narrative and to build something that really focuses on the things that are important. And that's what comedy is in a way. It's just as a different type. And so as somebody that's, written a book, as somebody that's done public speaking and all sorts of things where I'm not afraid to be in front of people and I'm not afraid of expressing myself in that way, stand-up just seemed like a different type of communication to learn. It was a new language that I needed to learn. And it's been really cool because it's opened some fantastic doors for me. It's allowed me to say with full authenticity that I have followed my dream of doing what I want, which is to be a comedian. Where that takes me, I've got some lofty goals and we'll see how that works. I believe they'll happen. But I've been reminded about something that a lot of people I don't think get. Most people don't have the experience base where they can say that they followed their dream to do what they wanted. And there's this romance associated with that arc that, you know, you do it, you go against the odds and you do it and it's hard, but it's great. And then you win, right? We hear that, you know, the hero's journey story. Well, as I've been involved in stand-up, I've recognized, oh, even doing what you love and exactly what you want and following your dreams can fucking suck sometimes. Sometimes you cry. Sometimes you have crippling self-doubt. Sometimes I'll sit back and go, what the hell am I doing? I'm not even funny. Like, I will doubt every aspect of the process. And then you'll dip out of that and you'll have something that'll change your perspective again and you go forward. It's like that arc is what I think we need to get comfortable with. We need to get comfortable with if we're going to follow exactly what we want in our dreams, our big goal, we got to know that we're going to suck at it too. And not in a romanticized way of sucking, like, oh, we could always see talent there and now you're better. Not that type of sucking, but like the type of sucking where even people that trust you and that you love are like, why are you doing this? I don't get it. And that's been a powerful thing for me. And it's elevated me into a space with my business when it comes to podcasting. And I do, like, my entire revenue model now outside of, I mean, I make very little money doing comedy, but outside of that is, you know, podcast consulting, storytelling, production of audio content. And all of that came about because of my decision to start trying to learn a new language, which is being a comedian.
It's crazy. And it's scary, right? You're making a complete adjacent turn into something where you're standing on stage and you get an immediate reaction. You don't have that in business. Like, you can you hide. You can pretend, a lot of pretenders, a lot of people saying they're doing stuff, a lot of people posing with things versus like doing. When you're on stage, you don't have that. Like, there's nowhere to hide, right?
No, you're so exposed, man. Like, it's just you and a microphone in the crowd. And I made this joke once, and it's kind of true. Like, doing stand-up comedy is like conducting an orchestra where you don't know who's playing what instruments. Like, you have no idea what you're going to get in the crowd. But you're there for them. Like, they are there for relief. You are to entertain them. It's show business. And so there's so much shifting sands with making sure you do it well, which is, it's fucking hard. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm so drawn to it, is because I like the idea of becoming a master of something that not everybody could be.
I like it. What, like two things I'm trying to figure out like the best way to phrase it. What do you think learning a new skill and kind of stepping into that vulnerability, what have you learned from that you've been able to take into how you show up with your like relationship with your wife and in with your business? Is there any big thing that you've noticed has changed based on kind of taking that risk?
Absolutely. You know, we talk a lot about how important it is to create value and to give value back, right? And that's our goal. Our goal is to give value, to create value, to allow to help other people up. With that, though, takes a lot of support to be able to continue to do that. You cannot give value and create on an empty tank. And as a comedian, it's a vile business. I'll be honest. There's a lot of crappy people in that business that don't have anything but their own interests at heart. And so in order to keep going in that, like, you have to have a group of people that really get you, that support you, that see you for who you are and what you can provide and what you can do, and love you and are a home base. They're a safe place to land. You need that. Just like with anything else, like there's the caveat that, you know, that whole mantra that says that, you know, everything that you have is inside of you. That it's up, if it is to be, it is up to me. That whole, you know, self accountability space where it falls on us to succeed. I fully believe in those things, but it's got a footnote on it. It's like, you can't do that though without support. You've got to have people in your corner that get you. And I was kind of a solo guy for the longest time when it came to that, even within, you know, the social media space. Like, I was the guy that had 5,000 friends on Facebook, and I would try to do this stuff, but I kind of always felt alone. And even recently, I just decided to be like, I'm just going to embrace that. Like I purged my entire Facebook list down to only people that I'm actually friends with, like not acquaintances, but like full friends. And I think that that's a really important distinction, is that we have to be that type of support.
Yep.
We have to get that support for ourselves, and we have to be ruthlessly committed to making sure that those in our circle are doing that. Like I remember as well, like I used to never block anybody if they were talking shit about me, because I felt morally superior by being able to take the fiery darts, you know. Now I'm like, nah, dude, like if I'm getting shit from you, you're done. Like I don't want to deal with it. Like it's my energy and the way that I handle that is too important. So I'm not going to put up with it. Like, and I feel fine about that.
Your space. So we're going to wrap it up here, my man. I'm going to bring Dom in. We're kind of bouncing the schedule around a bit. How long have you been at stand up now? Has it been 2 years or is it a year? Or a little
2.5 years.
2.5 years? Gosh, man. So in the last 2.5 years, I want to put this into perspective, because I think it's some watching you from a distance, like I've been at awe, right? I've been very blown away and honored to watch your growth, because you're very meticulous about how you show up. So going into a world where you don't know anybody, you don't know how it's supposed to be done, you became a student fast. I mean, you dove in understanding story structure, joke structure, how to, like, the beginning, middle, and end, tie it together. Like you've learned the process. You've been an expert at it. Your contemporaries, what I've seen that they don't have is you're also now bringing in this business acumen, and you're bringing in this embracement of leveraging technology to build your own personal brand. Whereas a legacy, like when you look at legacy industries, comedy, tattooing, the music industry, like there's a set way you do things, and it's not based on innovation. It's like a good old boys club, to where you're coming in with these tool sets. So not only you become, you're a student, you come in pre-packed with understanding how to leverage eyeballs and the importance of bringing people along with you and like combining all of that stuff. I've been absolutely blown away by how you've been able to merge those two to make as much headway as you absolutely have, right? Because in the last 2.5 years, you've gone from writing some jokes to thinking about hosting a stand-up night to, I mean, you've hosted, I don't have the list in front of me, and I'm going to ask you, but you've opened or hosted for some of the top names in comedy today. Like, give me a couple. Like, I know we've got Schultz, Andrew Schultz. Like, who else? You've got a bunch, but who are 4 or 5?
Schultz, Brian Callen, Tim Dillon, Russell Peters, one of the top grossing comedians on the planet. Russell Peters, I got to do a set for him. Adam Ray, Jeff Dye, Miss Pat. I opened for her. That was actually my very first opening gig, was opening for Miss Pat, and she's just a savage. Now you're
just bragging. Now you're just bragging.
I'm just bragging. Okay.
Like, you look at that, and one of the things I want to put into perspective for people that are watching today's live stream is you have a guy who's, I mean, let's just call it what it is. We're older, right? So we're older, have taken a risk, went to a completely new industry, not knowing anything, just taking our experience, knowing that we wanted to create something different because where we were wasn't cutting it. Whether that's, from a sobriety perspective to a change of business, went into a new area, man. And I'm honored to have seen you do that. I've seen it in real time. I consider you a close friend, if not one of my best friends for sure. Like, you're in my inner circle of a handful of people that I consider friends and family. To watch you kind of go through that, dude, it's been an honor. So, just as a fan of seeing what you've done, it's like I hope it gives other people hope and understanding that you're not stuck where you're not stuck where you are. There's always going to be the opportunity. You're perfectly at the place you need to be, where you need to be tomorrow. Is like, that's based on your decisions. You're going to see that kind of throughout the stream, the people they're going to be speaking. I've got Dom coming up next. I got George Chanos. We've got like a powerhouse of people. You're going to hear that. That's like one of those things that you're never stuck. Like, you're always where you're supposed to be. So, man, as a just as a friend and as a fan, I've been honored to see your journey into this new realm and all of the cool business opportunities that have come from it around all the stuff you're doing now for companies and showing them how to take their story and put it into podcast form, and then doing an episodic, and how do you leverage that as marketing, and like building so much value of just teaching people what you've done successfully, not what you read about or thought about. And to see it all kind of unfold, man, it's been an honor.
Well, if I can just conclude with one thought that has been a big lesson that I've learned throughout this whole process, your mindset is the most important thing that you can invest in. You have to have a mindset of a winner. You have to have the mindset of a champion. You have to be willing to look at yourself as that way, and then let everything else fill in the gaps underneath it. The challenges, the real heavy, deep challenges that I've had in comedy and in my business have been when I've forgotten that, when I've forgotten that it starts with the way that I perceive things and then taking action based off of that, instead of trying to mold myself into some existing structure. You bring up Andrew Schultz. I've been privileged to be able to develop a friendship with him because he's just on the top of the game. I hosted the shows when he came to Salt Lake, and he saw some of the things I was doing with video and my podcast. He's like, dude, you're doing it right. Like that's the way you do it. We got to buck a trend. The old school way does not work anymore. And I think that regardless of comedy or whatever your industry, and if that's your mindset to buck the old way and to do something better, you're creating an easier path to success for yourself because you're not competing with nearly as many people.
I love it.
Anyway.
I love it, dude. All right, my man, Dom Fawcett, get ready. I'm going to bring you in. Dude, I have somebody here that wants to say hi. You want to swing around? I got a special guest that while Bryce is on, you're going to say hello. And I appreciate you, dude. Where can people find you? If people want to know more about what you're doing, where can they get more information?
I've made it pretty easy. If you just go to bryceprescottcomedy.com, it's a simple landing page with the links to my podcast, Delusional, my comedy podcast, with all my YouTube channel, my Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. It's just at bryceprescottcomedy.com.
Oh, dude, I love it. I love it. All right, my man. I get the family coming around. They're going to say hi to you virtually. Appreciate you, dude. I honor you. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. I will talk to you soon. I'm going to bring Dom in here. All right, my man. Later, alligator.
See you, buddy.